in terms of numbers, in terms of research? How do you see data helping us to craft the vision that we've been talking about?
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. Permit me to share a thought on vision before I get into the issue of data. I recall that one of the panelists did say that we don't appear to have a vision. But I thought we had a vision. And I recall vividly that Nigeria crafted a vision for herself, Vision 2020, which means where do we want to be in the next 20 years? We want to be within the big players of the world in the, in the field of economic development. So we have a vision. And I would also like to say that the president also has engendered a transformation to drive this vision. I thought what we need to say and add there is that we need to build institutions to engender the transformation activities to get to where we want to be. So I thought we had a vision. Now, coming back to the issue of data, I recall Tom in his initial slides did real hard data, global monitoring report, and then gauge Nigeria among parameters within the nations. Nigeria is 142 and so on and so forth. That means data is very critical. But we ask ourselves, what kind of data? In all fields of economy, in all fields of endeavor, we have what we call management information system. In finance, financial management, financial information system. In education, educational management information system. So we need to create public policies that are evidence-based. That is how we get into the 21st century. If we are going to create policies that are evidence-based, we need to create data to generate that evidence. So I agree solely that data plays a critical role. But the challenge is to build institutions to generate reliable and valued data. I'll give you an example. If you like to build classrooms, for instance, in the next 10 years, you don't just say, I would like to invest 10 billion. No, you need to say, what is the population growth, for instance? How many people are going to get into school? How many people are going to get out of school? How many people are going to leave school early, for instance? So we need to create data. So I believe that creating reliable and valid data will enable us make good estimates, make good plans, drop proper strategies, and then get on to driving our vision. This is the whole idea of data. It's very critical and very fundamental.
Well, thank you very much. You said we have a vision. And yes, we know what we want to be by year 2020. But how are we going about it? Tom is saying we are still working on a system that is old and obsolete. Now, how do we evaluate the vision such that we know definitely that we're headed in the right direction, that we're all in the same boat, on the same page? And we know that Professor Chukwu has done some work in the health area, and you've been able to take care of the agenda, the transformation agenda for health. So what did you do? How did you do it? Is it working? Is it where we need to be going? Because health education is critical. Everything that undergirds everything we do in this nation, education undergirds everything that we do in this nation. So tell us, how did you do it?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Well, I suspected that I was invited here, not because of my experience in the health sector, but because I have a previous profession. So that shows that I'm coming from the academic background, the teacher, basically. I agree completely with what Tom said, except to add that yes, as we pursue global standards, there is need for really local relevance. And if we are going to ensure local relevance, we must do a similar thing we've done for infrastructure. The National Population Commission led us to develop an integrated, national integrated master plan for infrastructure for Nigeria. That will take us for almost the next 30 years. we need to also do the same for human capital. So that is one. Now, we are beginning in Nigeria to appreciate that human capital is as important, if not even more important than infrastructure. And I want to thank the president because for the first time in the history of Nigeria, my colleague in the education sector and myself in the health sector are serving on the economic team. Never happened before because when they talk about economics, they think, oh, critical infrastructure. But you don't think about critical human capital. So I want to posit that, well, I've attempted to do a bit of it. I'm not Minister of Education, but one thing I did in the health sector was to look at medical and dental education. People are talking about partnership. People are talking about using what you have to achieve your aim. Yes, we partnered with Nigerians in diaspora. Nigerians are probably among the smartest people on earth, much I know. Tom agrees. So we invited those of them in the United States, invited those in the UK and Europe. We partnered with the US government. We worked with the National Universities Commission because they have the mandate. We worked with the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. They have the mandate to set standards for medical education. We worked with the universities themselves and so on. Put them all together and decided to look at the curriculum we have. We made it clear we're not taking away anything from the Senate. It is the work of the Senate or the various universities to prescribe the curriculum for various courses. But we decided that we could work together, look at our situation in Nigeria, look at what is the best practice, global best practice. And today, Nigeria has a brand new template for medical and dental undergraduate education. We have this, and we have made it available to the universities. Look at it, like someone said in the first plenary, don't reinvent anything, take what has already been done. So that's one contribution I've made. But there's something I just want to say before probably I give the opportunity to others. Maybe because you say I'm Minister of Health. Now, I believe that unlike football, you know, we love football. Often, if a team does not do well, who do you blame?
Coach.
For me, I don't think that is the way we should look at education. It is both sides. And now, I'm collaborating with the Minister of Agri. We want to look at how the cognitive functions of our children are developing. It is very important. So now we're beginning to talk about nutrition.
And that is a good segue to Mr. Wilson right here to talk to us about neuroscience. How does that affect the way our children learn, and how does that affect the quality of education?
So, at the Advanced Learning Institute.
Hello?
So, at the Advanced Learning Institute, where we work, we do neurological and genetic research on the basis of learning and behavioral change. And what we found is that there's code in your DNA. If that code isn't turned on, you can't learn or change behaviors. One of the fascinating things is, you know the least effective way to turn on that code, and you've all experienced it, it's memorization. Think of all the tens of thousands of things that you've memorized in your life. You spent hours sweating, drinking, stay awake drinks and whatever else. And how much you really remember now. From a biological perspective, the whole system is built on a fallacy. It was not a fallacy back in Plato, Aristotle, Socrates' days, and even up into St. Thomas Aquinas helped develop the educational system we use today. Because at those times, you only needed to remember 3,000 things, and you knew all the knowledge that existed in the world. That no longer exists. We can't have a system designed to teach people a finite amount of information. Information is doubling every 18 months. And when we bring these children into the school system right now, the system is so rigid, we do not see the gifts of the children. Everybody in this audience is a genius at something their neighbor isn't. Why? Because genetic variation ensures that none of your genes are the same exactly, and your genes build brain structures that are different. You've got an overabundance of neurons in one part of your brain that nobody else has. You take a child who, when he's up to the first grade, self-satiating his meaning network. He's satiating those those abundance of neurons in that particular part of his brain. He's eating dirt, he's beating on pots and pans. You rip him out of that joy, you lock him in a box, and you talk to him for 18 years. You know what we do to our brains? We restrict them. The fascinating thing is, by understanding the biology of learning, which most of us in education, nobody ever taught us, what learning really is neurological growth. If you're not designing a system that promotes neurological growth, you get pain and dysfunction. People don't want to be in that environment. Earlier we were talking about how angry or how upset that we are about the teachers not being more efficient. Well, you put them in a dysfunctional system and you get dysfunctional teachers and you get dysfunctional results. The system itself dictates our behaviors. Right. If we do not change the system, our behaviors will continue the same. Now, in my world, that's biology. When you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, you reinforce the structures that help develop even more dysfunction. We were talking about America like it's good. 70% of teachers hate their friggin' job. It sucks over there. I'm dealing with it. It's not good. And they hate their job not because they're bad people. He was talking about the people that went to prison for teachers. They went in there to nurture the souls of a child. The system turned them into criminals. And if we don't recognize that, we are not going to shift. And I believe by understanding the neuroscience, the genetics, the biology, the molecular biology of this process, we can change everything. Real quickly, the school that we use this neuroscience with in Canada, and we're developing it all over the world. Basically what we found is the joy of the student goes up, the joy of the teacher goes up, and the joy of the parents goes up. And the results are much higher he's got 300 to 400% higher, and we're not focusing on tests. We're focusing on learning.
Thank you.